Hello and welcome to India Career Center, the one-stop podcast for students, professionals, parents, and guardians. In every episode, we will try to deal with a current topic that needs expert advice related to career, career guidance, and career mentoring. Please welcome your host, Dr. S.B. Mishra, to the show. And happy listening.
Hello and welcome to India Career Center for another topic about career guidance. We have today a very eminent guest, Mr. Sunil Dahiya. Mr. Sunil Dahiya is the Executive Vice President from Wadhwani Opportunity, which is under the Wadhwani Foundation. Mr. Sunil leads the Wadhwani Opportunity program in Asia and also expanding its footprints across emerging economies. He has got about over 25 years of experience in the vocational training area. He has undertaken several initiatives at NIIT. He has contributed to building Industry Connect for placing over 200,000 students, co-founded a business venture called the Stack Route. Sir, to take this conversation forward, first of all, I'd like to welcome you formally to this show. And if you can tell our viewers about your early life, your early career in India, and how you have come to this stage in this current profession.
Sure. First of all, thank you so much, sir. Thank you for the introduction. And let me give a background, and just to answer what you just asked. So, see, from the journey standpoint, when I look back, it's now 3 decades of journey, more or less. I'm completing 3 decades now. Have been all throughout in the vocational education and training space. So learning and development, education, methodology, pedagogy, these are very close to heart terms all throughout. But as the way the journey began, it was, it was 91, when the journey began. And, that was the time when the IT was just catching up. And actually, it was already in the catching up stage, because 91, 92 was the time when things were just looking, India was moving into the IT space. And that's where, I started my journey from. And very proud to share, I started my journey as a trainer and as a software trainer. And that has been the closest to my heart, because when you interact with students and when you train them on something, and then they make it good in their life and they grow on that basis, that's so fulfilling. So actually, I started off my career more as a trainer. So spending time directly with the students in the classroom and in the labs, and working on various problem statements and, the case study applications, how do we resolve? And that time, this was the time of COBOL and, DBase and Foxbase. I don't know whether many of the students would even know this today, but this is the time which was very early time. At the highest was Sybase at that time. But this was the real time when I worked with the student directly and moved into the fundamentals of IT, which was more on databases, networking, hardware, software, all that stuff. And then growing in the same domain, and this is where I started from NIIT, as the organization. And from there, my journey began. So from training the students in the beginning, and maybe I'll, if I take you to my last assignment at NIIT, it was heading the entire, the individual business for NIIT. So that was the whole journey. But just to give you just to share some key points in the journey. First piece was completely the software training space. Then I moved into into more, which is P&L space, managing the P&L, managing the P&L as a unit of a center, and then moving forward into operations part. And then as the time grew, moved into research and technology area, so which was more to do with blended learning and let's say the various models were emerging at that time, because there is the synchronous model, asynchronous model, and all this was getting evolved. And that time I spent nearly 3 years with Dr. Sugata Mitra and the team working on complete how should we really look at the pedagogy, methodology, and the whole aspect of asynchronous and synchronous learning. This was the time when technology was getting embedded into training field, and it was allowing the training to scale. And that's where I spent good almost 2 to 3 years in that area at that point. Later started moving into a pure management side, and that was more to do with technology alliances. Got a very good opportunity working with Microsoft, Oracles, and Cisco's, and these are the upstream partners who are the technology providers, and at the downstream, working with great organizations like Wipro, Infosys, Cognizant, and them, all these organizations more who would absorb the talent which is produced. So this was a great experience, working on both the sides, because this were the national and international level alliances which we had to work on and get them all together. Then I got a very good opportunity, and which I must share today, because that really paved my way in terms of career guidance. And I must mention this. This was the time when I was given the responsibility of ensuring that the student who undergo the training are successfully placed in the industry. And this is where it started off from the complete career guidance as a domain, because when should it start, what should it have, and when does the career guidance, actually it never ends, but at what stage, does it make the student ready so that he can clear the gate of the employer? And then what happens after that? And what is this, lifelong career guidance model? So we started working on, and this was one big responsibility which I handled for nearly 5 years. And that is the time, was very fortunate to, nearly place nearly 200,000 students at that point in the IT industry. So that was but it was a very enriching experience from student standpoint as well as industry standpoint, because here is the demand and supply coming together. So that was a very, very unique piece which came forward. Towards the end of my 25 years with NIT, I co-founded a new business vertical called StackRoot in Bangalore. This is in Kormangala, Bangalore. And this was our proposition to how do we address the top of the end pyramid on the technology front, because NIT as such was more coming from let's say an individual business and then coming upwards. Here was an opportunity to work directly with B2B space and work directly with corporates. And this gave us an opportunity to not only think through a completely new product, a completely new proposition, but rather taking it up to the top of pyramid in terms of all of the induction program of Wipros and Infosys and we Cognizant, Mindtree. So these kind of organizations came forward, and we are very glad to report that it's on its way to growth as of now. And that was the time, it was in nearly 5 years back when I moved into the skilling space with Wadhwani Foundation. And this is my current role, where I look after the skilling vertical. We call it Wadhwani Opportunity, and I look after the skilling vertical, all across the globe, except US as of now. And the whole journey here became much larger, because here there was an aspect of working absolutely in a philanthropic way, but then how do you really make an impact right at the bottom of the pyramid, middle of the pyramid, or top of the pyramid? But how do we really make it big? How do we really work out and solve the problem of skilling in India? What is the right approach to do it? Of course, we are always learning. We are in the journey, but lots of learning along the way in terms of where are we, what the gaps are, how it needs to be plugged. So from that standpoint, the journey has, that's where I am today. And in terms of driving this in, right now in 11 countries, which is India, Southeast Asia, Latin America, Africa. And that's the primary geographies where we are currently working on. And, glad to be here with you. Thank you so much. So this, I just thought, let me share this part with you. Yeah.
Okay, and what is so interesting is that for the first 25 years of your experience, you have been dealing with corporates, and typically it's like it's an organization for making profit, and after that, the last 5 years, it's for a non-profit organization. So, how was the switch in terms of the thought process, and how are you coping up with this change? And is it really impacting the way you conduct your functional area on a day-to-day basis?
Okay, so frankly, uh, the way we are today, even though you might hear us as a philanthropic organization, but I must maybe give you an example to say what I want to say. Uh, Being a philanthropic organization, whenever we are working on a solution or a proposition for a student, our key objective is to benchmark ourselves with the best available in the industry, irrespective whether it is for profit or philanthropic or maybe an NGO. The whole aspect is, when it comes to student, let's try to give the student the best possible solution, not just the best available, but the best possible. So with this kind of DNA in the organization, so this gives me and all of us a very different thrill. So what happens is, when we are looking at you asked that question, the aspect right in the beginning, moving from for profit to not for profit, and not only not for profit, absolutely a philanthropic organization. We do not get into any financial dealing at all. So moving from there to here, and having this passion of giving the best possible product in the best possible way. It could be because platform plays such a big role, and then possibly the best possible analytics and the best possible, in fact, in a later stage, we'll talk about best possible placement and the best possible career path for the student. And as we continuously work on this with different geographies, with different I would say backgrounds of the countries, economic backgrounds, socio-economic backgrounds are very different. It's a very different challenge, but as good as for profit. But doesn't matter whether it is actually for profit or not, but that thrill of doing it absolutely professionally with customer or the student or the learner at the center always. I think that's what gives me a lot of kicks, and that keeps us going. And the passion with which our team drives this home, I think that's where is the secret sauce. So that's where I think we all really rally towards this.
So just to understand, obviously most of the organizations work on a set of annual objective or a 5-year goal or a 10-year goal.
Yeah.
So for Wadhwani Opportunity or the Wadhwani Foundation, what is your objective for the year 2022, let's say? And if you also are okay to talk about what would be your 5-year goal starting from 2022?
Sure. So let me move in this way. The whole objective, the mission which we had, without first getting to the numbers, the mission was, how do we ensure that a youth in the country, and maybe the youth, which could be at any level. I'm not trying to say, primarily bottom of the pyramid, then middle, and then the top. Youth of the nation is able to, we enable this youth to be able to command family supporting wages. So in a simple line, this is what it would mean. But if I just drill down a bit, this would mean, can the youth very successfully support a family of 4 people? So that's the second part, and I think somewhere later I'll explain this even more deeper. And now coming to the mission which we have. So we started off with a mission of impacting 25 million youth across identified 22 to 25 countries by 2030. And
okay.
we need to take these 25 million youth across this journey of skilling and successfully landing them up into a job which is having a family supporting wages. So while this was the long-term, larger perspective, Now let me come down, because so for example, for this to happen, we need to be we need to have a run rate of almost 1 million students, actually a million in India, but otherwise roughly around 1.5 million students in the next 3 years run rate in the 11 countries where we are already working with. And that's where we are. In terms of 2022, coming to the last part of the question, in terms of 2022, as of now, on a yearly basis, we are supporting in India alone nearly around 300,000 students. That's what we do as of now. And this is what we need to take to 1 million first run rate, and then keep it for 7 to 8 years in India, and then all the 11 countries put together, and then growing the countries to 20 to 25. That's how this the entire dream of 25 million is what we are all driving towards.
Okay, so which means that if I understand, you are currently at a level of approximately about 33% from where you want to be.
Correct. Exactly.
Especially in India, and obviously for rest of the world also.
Yes.
I mean, the good part, of course, is that it is being done through a philanthropic organization. And here I would like you to actually talk a little more about your founder, Dr. Ramesh Wadhwani, his journey and how this concept came up, which is amazing. I think India needs many more such foundations because if we talk about India, I mean, especially this is something I've been talking in many of my episodes. So between 1997 and 2011, India has got roughly about 36 crore people. If these 36 crore people are not channelized in the right manner with respect to education, with respect to profession, and with respect to the different opportunities, then this can become dangerously problematic for a country like India. And I'm sure all the government agencies, all the foundations like yours will definitely take this as into cognizance and work towards these particular cohort.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. So actually, Dr. Ramesh Wadhwani, he's our founder, and so he was born in India and did his schooling in India. So he was born with polio, and from the age of 2, he has been polio has been with him. He graduated out of IIT Mumbai, and then after IIT Mumbai, he moved on to Silicon Valley. And before I go to that journey, let me just step back with a small, and that's where his first entrepreneurial mindset or entrepreneurial first enterprise he set up from there. So it was it was as getting his friends together because they wanted to have soft drinks, and then from there how it became a business model within the it was outside the college gate, and then it started growing so much that the college management wanted it to get it inside. And then that was his first time when he they all invested 100 rupees each, or something like that, and then then he was able to turn it around by selling it to the college. So there's a business setting up and then business selling right there in the college itself. So that was his first exposure. Since then he has never looked back. He always look at the enterprises, evaluate them, work with them, turn them around absolutely from a non-profit making to a profit making venture. And then then leave the let's say the venture on a growth stage. So and very proud to say he has done 35 to 36 such organizations all across the globe. And right now, in terms of the entire Symphony group, which is working today, which is in the AI space, which we across the globe, it is the business side company today. And that's where he came up with Wadhwani Foundation. He said, now it's time that I should now be very, and it is public, where he said that, I need to pledge, almost $1 billion to be given back to the society. And this, and the basic point which came in his mind was high value jobs. So it started from the word high value jobs. Now, if there's high value jobs, there are only two ways you can address high value jobs. One, either by creating them, two, fulfilling them. So if we need to create jobs, there's a complete vertical towards entrepreneurship, complete vertical towards MSME, supporting them so that these new startups come into action. They create more jobs and ultimately create high value jobs. That's one part. On the fulfillment part, this was to do with opportunities like skilling opportunities and ensuring that the students join the jobs for family supporting wages. But both, map into the high value jobs right on the top. And the clear objective is how do we, work in all the developing countries and see how we can make this his dream successful. And that's where, when I was just sharing with you about the numbers on 25 million, this is to do on the side of fulfillment. And like the same way, there's another 10 million, which is to do on the side of job creation. So this is his dream, and we all are proud to be, associated with this dream, and we all want to make this happen. So that's what is driving us, and that's so Rumesh, I think in a nutshell, and very recently, you must be aware he was awarded Padma Shri, and he is guiding us today from Bay Area, and we are living that dream as of now. Yeah,
that's fantastic. And now coming specifically to because most of our listeners and viewers will be from India, who will be looking at this video or going to listen to this podcast.
Yeah.
And of course, through your network, probably we'll also reach out to other geographies as well. So why do you think is the skilling is such a important area? You did mention about the broad goal of 25 million people to be impacted positively.
Yeah.
But why skilling is so important, and what exactly is the thought process?
See, of course, there are many aspects of it. We have been all talking about the demographic dividends. We are talking about the supply side and the demand side, the aging population in different countries, and the whole aspect of the industry changing, ever-changing, evolving industry. We are talking about industry, 2.0, 3.0 now. In fact, there are early talks about 4.0, 5.0. All that thing is happening in parallel. Now, the whole aspect is, in spite of all this, if you look at it from a broad level, even a country like India, it's very difficult to say that, we will be let's say, as a country like India, we'll be producing the number of jobs which are required to take care of every individual who is today, under the education system or the passing out students. Because the number of jobs required is X, the supply is Y. So now that opens up for us an avenue in terms of what can we do to, make this Indian student a global asset from that standpoint, a global talent. So that's one side of it. The other side is very here and now. Almost whether you take India, we take Bangladesh, Philippines, Indonesia, I think even LATAM as well. The industry and academia. There is always this, that what industry says, what we want, we don't get. And the other side, there's academia who would say, no, we are doing the industry endorsed curriculum, but still we are not able to produce the quality which industry can hire. So there is a gap on this part. And this gap, when we go further double click, and if I go into each sector, it will come into roles. And there are roles to be, there are roles at levels, where maybe a grade 12 student is good enough to join. There are roles where, graduate students join. There are roles where diploma students join. And of course, that itself is undergoing a change as well. As we talk, it's undergoing a change. Because now the questions are coming, why can't, let's say, a diploma guy do coding? He or she can. And can we move things, early in the value chain than later? So these various aspects put together, the demographic dividend on the top, the demand and supply situation in the country, and another piece is how serious are we towards it. There are countries who are extremely seeing this as a very, very big responsibility, and the government and the countries, I would say, when I say the ecosystem of the country, be it government or private, they are very serious about skilling and ensuring that every individual is skilled. That's one part, because there's the flip side to it. The other side is, if we do not address this problem, this can create a absolute havoc, because having millions of unskilled students around, and it's from that standpoint, it becomes a threat for a future. So it's an absolute fabulous opportunity for all of us to see what is the student, how can they be skilled in the area which they like to be, and then see what they can do the best. And then is it possible to take them to the employer, or maybe they can get onto on their own, and I'll touch upon that somewhere later, on the self-employment kind of model, or maybe an entrepreneurship kind of model. So from that standpoint, the whole gap between the industry and the academia today, the demands from the industry and what we need, and it is not only true about at the bottom of the pyramid, it's true right at the top of the pyramid. Even the best of the engineering, let's say, total population in India, even now, most of the IT companies will say only, 25%, the best rate would be 25% are employable, and, worst could be anything. So with such a huge opportunity in front of us, skilling is the only solution which comes forward. And that's where, we thought that we should then invest in this area. Maybe I'll just take maybe at this stage itself, go one level deeper on this. Now, when we break the skilling piece, this also has got two clear aspects. And we did a survey, and I'm very glad to share with you this pure for India and my friends, who are listening. We did we met almost 1,500 employers in India. And we do this, on a periodic basis, and try to understand what do you look forward to when you hire a candidate, inside your organization. And I'm talking about entry profiles at this moment, and it's ranging across all the segments. It was ITS on the top, banking, finance, construction, healthcare, going right down to mining, maybe fishing. So we covered nearly around 30 domains. And then looked at what do they look forward to. And the output which came out was, everyone requires domain skills, everyone requires soft skills. And that's where Wadhwani Opportunity thought that this is the sweet spot where we should start from putting the philanthropic dollars and support the ecosystem, where a lot of academia was anyway answering the domain knowledge.
Correct.
But at the interview, there's a big requirement of the soft skills, all the aspects which is towards attitude, with confidence, communication, ethics, behavior, problem solving attitude, all that aspect comes together. Because most of the employer would say, get us the right guy or girl, but we'll be able to then shape them in terms of domain. So that's where we started our journey. I just touched upon this part, maybe this is not the question, but I just touched upon this part. Okay. That's where we got evolved as Wadhwani Foundation. And that's where we started our initial, the product or the proposition piece. So, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, because, we all are aware that the soft skilling part, which you talked about, I think along with the domain knowledge, soft skill is something which is actually the differentiator between a person X and person Y. In my opinion, obviously we should be starting this concept of soft skill training, or imparting this training right from the school level. But unfortunately, right now, the education system doesn't have something like that. Maybe there in few pockets, but I don't think it is there as a policy level kind of thing. So are you at the Wadhwani Foundation, Wadhwani Opportunity, are you working with the school system, with the boards, or with the government, how are you trying to reach out to the young people? Because I think if we are able to reach out to people at school, then your dollars spent on this would be much more effective and efficient, actually. What are your thoughts?
I must share something very interesting here. So after the end of the survey, we found that there's a need of 21st century core employability skills. So we put it under the bracket called 21st century skills. And within that, 21st century core employability skills, which is sector agnostic and required by everyone. But let me answer the question which you asked. So yes, how do we, this product is there, but how do you reach to the target segment? And from that standpoint, if school is the first, one of the key target segment to be reached. So what we were able to do, and very glad to share, that we were able to work with the Ministry of Education and working with PSSAIB, or the content part of NCERT. It's more known as NCERT, and we worked with them to launch a vocational subject called employability skills. And thanks to them that we were able to come together and launch this from grade 9. So
Fantastic.
grade 9, 10, 11, 12, we were able to, introduce a subject as a subject called employability skills. And this runs through all the schools which have registered for vocational education right now in the country. But absolutely, was to share with you from a evolving, or let's say going forward thought on this, employability skills, or we may call them workplace awareness, we may call them work skills, life skills. All this aspect should start early in the student life. And now I think, as with the new NEP coming forward, the new education policy, while NEP itself is clearly directing that we should get such skills early in the curriculum. So right now, we are working with the ministry level, and then further down, creating some proof of concept with some pilots in terms of what can be done to introduce this early in the life of student. And maybe if it can start from secondary section, maybe secondary class starting from 6th onwards, that's where we have been moving on this. But I also would like to share with you one more a path-breaking example, which also I think has a very long way to go, which is we're very glad to participate with the Delhi government on the EMC curriculum. It's called Entrepreneurial Mindset Curriculum. Now, this also gave a very different touch to the aspect of how do you orient the student towards self-employment or entrepreneurship. Even starting from find out the gaps around you and stuff like that. But yes, many states are now coming forward in terms of may not be the same as EMC in Delhi, but there are other ways of, there are some more innovations getting added, and then slowly this is taking shape. And another, I think I must add here, there's a very welcome movement which we are seeing in almost all the progressive states, which is coming up with this the kind of let's say a skill university kind of concept. Now, it may, when I say university, it might sound like, let's say graduation, but actually this is much early. Even a student can get onto this just after grade 8 or grade 9 in the school. So that's the kind of, work happening. And we are glad to be part of this, and then working with the government on this space, which is on the school space. Of course, there are, there's the other side, which is NSDC, and that's the other side. But on school space, these are my thoughts on how we can really make an impact now in the umbrella called National Education Policy. And with this new aspect, how can we introduce these skills much early? Because the student confidence completely changes, and they become that much more confident in taking all decisions in their life, and they are more informed student rather than the current situation. So that's where we are.
Okay, so that's very good in terms of making some progress with respect to connecting with the boards, governments, and schools. But how do you see others who may not have that particular school board as an access? So let's say a state government education children studying in the any of the states where this access may not be there. So what is the opportunity for them? Is there a way they can actually reach out to this course through your platform?
Yes, actually, okay. I think I should have added this. While this is the way to address the, from the central body organization, we also, are working with the state governments. And right now we are working with, 5 or 6 states in India. And we're taking this journey not only from the central leadership or the central organization, but also from the state leadership and the state organization. The only, or rather the good aspect which come into when it goes to state, it takes the shape of vernacular languages, localization which is required to be on the state, and then the kind of in knowledge which is required by a student at the state in terms of the industry available in the state, locally as well as nationally, that brings in that flavor. And definitely, we would, as a philanthropic organization, we are very, very keen to take it to, as many states as possible. But we are in the journey. But at this point, this is always an evolving space. There are states which are coming up with some revolutionary ideas of, some leadership schools, and in fact they want to try this up. And this is, I'm here right now talking about Jharkhand in terms of the leadership schools as a concept, like we spoke about EMC curriculum in Delhi. And like this, there are examples in West Bengal, in Uttar Pradesh, big example happening here, Andhra Pradesh as well. Rajasthan and Haryana is something which we worked in the early years. And the whole, now the good part is, I would just like to say what is the best which has happened in the last 2 years is schools opening up to hybrid models of learning, which was earlier, it kind of, and thanks to the pandemic, maybe this has opened up, everybody's, scope of thinking that how can training happen? It is not necessary that every training in the school has to be in the class. There are models available where the students can learn, online. Yes, there is still device and bandwidth issues in some parts of the country, but every day it is reducing as we proceed. So whether it is the northeast states or even north, west, even south, in fact, there are states which are very, very progressive in terms of bandwidth as well as devices. So as this gets better and better, schools are getting now, I must share this example. Just before this call, there's a project we are doing for, this is for Uttarakhand. All the teachers, there's an induction program for all the principals first, then teachers, and then the students on this synchronous and asynchronous model of learning. And it's coming from them that why don't we, train our people on this, maybe just conceptually with some examples, because now this is the best part, because as the economy and the school ecosystem opens up for hybrid learning, this opens a lot of scope for all of us. So that's the way, we are thinking about schools, both in state as well as central, and even private schools, we also help them as well.
Okay. And also if somebody, a parent is watching this and his child do not have that access because of whatever reason, maybe the state is not aligned or not part of the central board kind of thing. So do they have the access to this technology or to this learning through your platform?
Absolutely. So maybe this is a couple of months away,
okay.
But we will be shortly launching, because currently we go with the partner, which could be a school, could be a university, could be a state, could be central government, and private big players. However, we have seen a lot of requests coming from individual students whose institution may not have, tied up with us. So we will be launching this as an individual solution, which any student in any part of the country and anywhere can come forward and do this at their own pace. And definitely, this is maybe another 2 months away, but very glad to share that should be available definitely in let's say 2 months from now.
I think that will give a lot of scalability to this program as well.
Exactly.
I think once individuals taste what you're talking about,
yes,
they can actually influence further for implementation on a institutional level, I guess.
Exactly.
So that's fantastic. So going forward, I just wanted to also, you touched upon the entrepreneurial mindset. You spoke about the program in Delhi with the Delhi government. Would you like to share a little detail about that and what exactly you mean by that and why it is so important for us?
Yeah. So, oh yes, very, very important. Actually, see, this is the new learning. And I must maybe give you examples from different countries. And this is for our, this is for students and parents and the academicians, who are listening to this conversation. If in India, if there's a batch of 30 students and we ask them, and they might be in college or maybe in grade 12, maybe more in when they are post class 12, and we ask them, how many of you want to be working? How many of you want to do a job? We have seen on an average 95% hands will go up. And if I give you an example from a Latin American country like Mexico, because I tried this myself. And when we ask the students, how many of you would be interested, or rather, what do you see future? Jobs, maybe only 20% hands will go up, and 80% will be looking at, please enable us that we can be self-employed first, and then become an entrepreneur later. So that's a big mind shift in the classroom, because one side is everyone is looking to be standing in the queue for interviews with the employer. And the other one is maybe a statement like, to start with, knowing what I can do, I can start myself, and later stage, I can employ more people. Now, maybe, at the bottom of pyramid, it might sound, it will be more, how do I get self-employed and then, earn my living? But maybe when you go to the middle of the pyramid students or top of the pyramid, they can actually get onto real enterprise setups, startups, and then they can move forward from there. So with this background, we worked with actually a very interesting thing happened where it was like this, that the number of jobs available will never be sufficient for the number of students passing out.
Yeah.
And if that is the case, and if we work on this, developing the entrepreneurial mindset of the student. So mindset is, slightly, of course, it has got a combination of communication, problem solving, teamwork, all that is true. But apart from this, things like never give up, things like find out the gaps around you. So if I give you a very, let me give a real examples. Students who are generally may not attend the school very regularly, would attend such kind of topic, very regularly. And in fact, maybe without naming the state, because this has now become everywhere, if the first period of the day is setting up entrepreneurial mindset for every student in the school, starting from grade 6 onwards, that itself brings in a very different kind of learning. And the learnings were immense. Student whose father was a e-rickshaw puller, suddenly this kid in class 9 or 10 tells his dad that your e-rickshaw is actually an asset. And why do we earn revenue only for 7 hours? Let's earn revenue 24 hours. Now, it might very, very simple thing, but student mindset becomes, what can I leverage around me? So now that kind of mindset coming from finding out the gaps, it was amazing to know the kind of gaps student came up with. And we would tell them, the objective was, whatever you see around when you come to school from your house, or whatever you see around, maybe when you are talking to your friends, going out, what gaps do you see? then getting them into a huddle of a group of 4 or 5, and then let them think about it. Objective was not truly that each one will launch a business. That was not the objective. Objective was let them huddle, because this huddling itself and thinking of a problem, someday in their life, they would feel that maybe I can do something, I can find out a gap and do something about it. A couple of girls from government schools setting up a two-wheeler tire, you have to fill up the air in the two-wheeler scooty. Starting from their mindset, and then slowly somebody donating them a kind of a shed under which they started helping the girls who are getting scooties. And just to share with you today, they are part of Mahindra Electric today, the whole group of 12 girls. Otherwise, if it is automobile, generally the girls would have their own views about it. So these are those examples which, if driven early in the life, then they can really drive their passion, or they can follow what they wanted to do. Yes, this has to be fully supported by the country, by industry, by the governments, in terms of let them try and fail versus not even trying. That's the big part. I think if that can happen, then I think the schooling system itself, not only school, maybe colleges, maybe even further up, the management colleges, the pharmacy colleges, this can give birth to many new ways of, many new innovations, maybe many new ways of at least finding out a self-employment opportunity, or setting up a startup in case you can go to that level. So that's how, this whole entrepreneurial mindset became so important. And I must just close it with one more aspect. Even when we were working with the employers, even they started saying, we need to have this startup mentality in the student. And we asked them, what do you mean by startup mentality? See, let them try. Let them not become the process. I'll just keep on following the process. Let them try and fail, not to worry. We as an organization will support that. But let them not become like, okay, this is the process and nothing will change. Versus always questioning, trying new things and not giving up. And now when the industry was talking like this, so they don't literally mean that, okay, this mindset is required, or rather what they're saying is this mindset is required even at the workplace. Not only, if you set it on your own, but even at your workplace, you need, if you have this kind of mindset, your growth is going to be definitely faster. So I know it was a slightly long one, but
yeah, I know. But then the traditional jobs are under threat. I think there's so many consulting firms who are predicting a lot of things, and a lot of it sounds quite logical. Actually, most of the repetitive mundane jobs will actually eventually be automated or taken over by machines or robots. So people have to really do things which are human, and which really needs a little bit of human thinking, the emotion and all that. So and if the traditional jobs reduce, obviously, then people will have to really be fantastically good at some special skill. And if they are good at some skill, and possibly they don't have to stick to one particular job role, they could actually move around and do multiple number of contracts. And if that is what is the future for people, then I guess understanding entrepreneurship is also equally very important.
I must share an example with you, and I'm so intrigued to share that with you. I was flying from Calcutta to Delhi, and the young boy sits with me in the aircraft, and he was in his early 20s, maybe 23, 24. And I was asking him, okay, what are you doing and all that stuff? And then he tells me, I'm going to London. I said, okay, they was flying to Delhi, and then he was going to London. Then I asked him, okay, what takes you to London, for higher education or something? He said, no, we have a lot of tea farms in the Guwahati area, that area. And now he's going there to learn the entire drone technology and how. And then I asked him, what do you plan to do? He said, all my tea farm people will be, I need to train them on this drone, because I think we can manage it much better if they learn drone, because they know what kind of leaf color is required, when when it is to cut that, pluck that tree, or rather the plant, the tea leaves from there. So imagine from, as you rightly said, who could imagine a tea farm worker would be a drone specialist? Now, so the way the jobs are evolving, the way take the analytics part, how it is now going everywhere in every domain. AIPs, how this is now fitting in domains which were never heard of. So those kind of things, and traditional jobs, will be a question mark I was attending a workshop, or rather this was in Manila, and there was a global conclave talking about, somebody made a statement that the job of lawyer is also, it may also change tomorrow because of technology. And there was a huge debate. We are already talking about the auto-driven cars, automatic-driven cars, and no driverless cars, in other words. So technology is going to be evolving. And from that standpoint, if our young generation today, the students, and they are aware, and they, rather than getting scared, adapt themselves to the new opportunity of it, because every new innovation will definitely give rise to new jobs, new opportunities. I was talking, I must share this example in healthcare. I met this, there's a large startup organization which who got into the home healthcare space. Home healthcare space was, typically the issue has been, if there's a girl child, she may not be interested to, go to somebody's house. The wonderful way they have resolved it is now they've made a team of 3, and then working it like one supervisor and one, maybe either 2 girls or 2 boys. And they are now looking at, hiring almost 10,000 people every month. So suddenly the home healthcare suddenly takes a different turn. So there are so many things which are evolving. The entire analytics space, whether you are in supply chain, whether you are, in logistics, analytics is everywhere, whether you are in terms of healthcare, whether you are even in retail. So analytics is something the students, all our learners, parents should look at how that portion can be put in them right in the beginning, so that they can take. But absolutely coming back with the evolution of new jobs, and as we see the jobs which are going off, data entry operation for that matter is on the way out, but rather there are many new things which are emerging. We never heard of geoengineers was the concept launched by Google. So in fact, and all these were those students who would bike very well. ATM engineers, these were the students who could imagine that ATM engineering, the people who are the first call away once the ATM machine is down. These are the people who are polytechnic and diploma holders who were the first one to rescue. But then comes the real engineer after that. So absolutely with you, this opens up a huge opportunity for all of us. Yeah.
Fantastic. Yeah. And 2 more issues which I thought we will talk about. There's this concept of rise of EdTech in India. So conceptually, what exactly this means, and what is the impact of this going forward?
So EdTech, the way I look at it is, in simple terms, trying to put technology in education. And basically EdTech from a large standpoint is giving scale with innovation. So there's innovation, there's scale, there's technology. So, and when EdTech is playing a big role and can play a very big role in transforming the education part. So whether the EdTech is more in terms of delivery methodology, that is pretty obvious. But the bigger EdTech projects, which are path-breaking ones, and maybe I would just like to share some of them. For example, learning pattern recognition of a learner. There could be 5 learners in the same class. They are learning the same concept. But maybe a very crude example could be a teacher is teaching a particular topic, and maybe just for an example's sake, even if the topic is photosynthesis. Now, even this topic, there is a kind of student in the class who can just watch a video and be done with it. There are other kind of student who needs teacher to explain what it is. And there could be 4 or 5 students who said, okay, we are just going out of the class, we'll be back in 45 minutes and we'll know what photosynthesis is. So now the whole aspect is, it is learner driven. So we are always, of course, with the evolution of time, with andragogy and then pedagogy, and now, as we move forward, can the education become learner centric? And a very, if I put it like this, can a learner choose what to learn? And can a learner choose how to learn? And can a learner choose how do you assess me? So for me, if you want to assess me, the best way, it may not be a written test.
Yeah.
Take me to the field and tell me to do this. I'll do it for you. So from that aspect, this whole evolution which is happening now on this space, so EdTech is trying to address this part. So that's the revolution I think it can bring on the table, as we proceed further. So sorry.
Fantastic. And of course, this sounds a little futuristic, but I think this is the way forward, because if we have to really address the problems of future, probably the way we teach our children have to also adapt and change faster than what we have been doing.
Sure.
So I mean that leads her to the advantages of blended learning model. So if you can explain that to our viewers.
Yeah. So coming to the it started from synchronous and asynchronous models, and then came the blended learning models. Actually, so it is like this. When we say blended learning model, it's a combination of various aspects: technology, face-to-face, query resolution through a bot, or can you talk to somebody face-to-face? Sorry. So from the blended learning concept, while in a simple terms, it is blend of learning, which could be online, offline, at your own pace, or guided learning. Those are the the typical understanding of what a hybrid learning model would be. However, let's take this hybrid learning to the next level. So, which is if a student wants to today, if a student wants to learn guitar, he can do this, watching a couple of YouTube videos. If a student wants to know, how do you, what is the best way to, even let's say, wearing a tie, and he doesn't know how to tie, put a knot, YouTube one video can do it. Now, what needs to be done? That means video should be part of this methodology or the hybrid learning. Then comes the next part, which is to do with various ways. If we have to collaborate using technology, now collaboration can happen if you're in a classroom, fantastic, because there are people there, and you can have role plays, you can have other stuff. So I am right now talking about the methodology of learning. And that's where this whole hybrid piece comes in. Now, traditional way would be that there are 3 people, doing a role play in front of the class, and other students are watching, and then they are responding to that. Is the same thing possible through technology? Now, can I define through technology that 2 people are having a conversation, and maybe a heated conversation? Can I play one of the role of one of that person using technology and take and solve the situation? So it's a combination of the voice, what you speak, and on the basis of that, what technology replies. But can we do such kind of thing in collaborations? Because today, when the world becomes one village, it is possible that trainers are not in a classroom. Trainers are divided. They could be in different countries. They could be in different cities. They could be in different houses, and still together. So hybrid learning methodology, or this kind of model, can bring in solution for all types of learners. So learners who are in classrooms, learner who are on their own, learners who have got a mobile phone which is very smart, learners who has got tabs, and learners who are not connected. even going to that part. So hybrid learning in that form has to address all kinds of learners. And the day it goes on to, learning pattern recognition and then responding on the basis of that, frankly, then that will be the whole scale model for the world. So that's how, I would like to.
It's really sounds very, very futuristic. I think it's going to have a lot of AI and ML embedded into this process. I think that's really fantastic. So before we sign off, I wanted you to talk to the target audience, because I quite like the idea that there is a foundation which is wanting 25 million people, young people, to be positively impacted for their future, for their life, and obviously in the process create people who are economically better for the society, for the world. I think that's something which is very good. So in this journey, you obviously are doing a lot in terms of engaging with the government, with the schools, with the boards, with the states, and so on and so forth. So for the other stakeholders who have not reached you yet, or you have not been able to reach out yet, through this channel, if I am able to bring at least one stakeholder onto this, I'll be very happy to have contributed to this mission as well.
Sure. So when, so actually you're very right, because when I today look at the stakeholders with us, there's a complete community, which is students community or learner community. And right now we are only captive because they are there in a, somewhere, either they're in a school or they're in a college, or they are in a, skilling center, skilling university, or maybe they are with employers. Now, that's still captive. So from these, this is the first target segment, or the first, stakeholder with us. And we are definitely very keen, to take it to every individual possible in his or her own language, so that they can choose the language and they can run it, and not only India, but all the countries as well. So from this point of view, we were envisaging a first kind of a global skilling, online global skilling university kind of model. Now that's just an imaginary which we can form. The basic part is it available to every student everywhere? So this is something, we would be, very glad to share with you, but, it is some months away, but we will be launching this, and we will reach out to every target student, ourselves. So whether it is through social media, through various media routes, but we will reach out to the students. And please always, one request to all the students would be, visit the Wadhwani Foundation website. That will always be, you will always find something for you any which way. Because, for example, today if you go to the Wadhwani Opportunity website, you will still you will get to know about domains, subdomains, what is the growth path, and it has got nothing to do with whether you register or you don't. It's a knowledge for you. So please, be there. Another thing which I can share with you is very shortly we will have a mobile app for you, so completely downloadable on your mobile, and then you can get going from there. And Wadhwani Foundation will become a kind of a buddy with you right from school until you are working, and we'll be supporting you all throughout journey. And maybe a coach, a buddy, who is there to help you. So that's my message for the first stakeholders, and the most primary one, which are the talent or the students. The second one is very important. Is the trainers, and trainers it's a big part of the puzzle, and they need to be always trained. And so we have for the trainers per se as well. While we do the master, training of master trainers, training of trainers all across, and we are creating a community of global trainers all across. And then some, within few months, or maybe 6 months from now, an Indian student wants to interact with a trainer who is not from India, very much possible. Or at a point when you have a doubt, There are trainers, which are available from a different nation. Fair enough. Same way, so that's the entire community on trainers. But here I want to address a point that we will look forward to even co-creation of solutions with the trainers. So why, we welcome their contributions in this journey as well. So that's the second key stakeholders with the trainers. Then comes the entire partners, whether it is the channels we call them, whether it is schools, whether it is boards, colleges. So very specifically, we'll be reaching out through the social media in terms of at least in India, our plan is to go to the district level, as we move forward. But I think that's the way forward, in terms of this part. And most important, the last part is the biggest stakeholder called employer. And with the employer, we continuously engage with them and more to know two things. One, what is happening to jobs? I think, sir, as you rightly said, which is the role fading out and which is the role emerging. Now, it is our responsibility to take it to the supply side and train them early before we realize it's too late. So that's one part. And the second part is working with their employees on the soft skills required at the workplace. So that's how we are addressing all the key stakeholders.
Okay, fantastic. So viewers and listeners, I really sincerely wish that whenever it is possible for you to do visit the Wadhwani Foundation website and the Wadhwani Foundation and the Wadhwani Opportunity website as well. And I myself have seen quite a few very, very interesting YouTube videos also, where I've seen Mr. Sunil Dahiya speak. I've seen Dr. Ramesh Wadhwani speak, and there's so many other speakers, and also a lot of impacted stakeholders, I would say, people who have gone through the process, how positively they have got impacted. I think I saw those videos also, found it very, very interesting. So I sincerely wish that Wadhwani Foundation does create that positive impact for India as well as across the world, and make the world a much better place with respect to this skilling. And in a small way, if India Career Center can contribute to that, I'll be really happy with that. So with that, I thank you, Mr. Sunil Dahiya, for giving your time today for this talk.
It was pleasure on this side. Thank you so much. And all the listeners, wish you all the very best. And please stay in touch. Wadhwani Foundation, I think, is always there for you. And we will always be looking forward to, how we can support you better and better. Thanks a lot. And it was lovely talking to you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed this episode. We sincerely wish you could take something from our conversation today and be able to apply it to your life in a positive way. We value your feedback. This can help us improve our future episodes. So share your thoughts to serve you better. If you want us to focus on a topic which you think is of importance, let us know. We will share our expertise in future episodes. So, see you soon with a new topic and help you in your career journey.